Hi, my name is Jacob Eischen, and welcome to the Semi-Related podcast. We're here in Dallas, Texas, and I'm sitting here with Courtney George from Wreaths Across America. Courtney,
Hey,
how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you
I'm
today?
doing good. We're here in Dallas, and what brings you to the big city?
I'm here for Women in Trucking. They have our conference coming up next week, and we love being a part of Women in Trucking and being a member of them. It's a great group of our core carriers that participate, and it gives me the opportunity to get out and thank a lot of our core carriers, as well as, get additional capacity while we're here.
Yeah, so tell me about how you got to know all of these carriers and what brought you to know organizations like Wreaths Across America and Women in Trucking, and a little bit more about your background.
Yeah, so I have been in trucking for 18 years now. I started in recruiting and started off just being a recruiter and worked my way up through HR and to being a director of recruiting and retention. And while I was in recruiting, got the carrier that I worked with involved in Wreaths Across America. It was something that made a lot of sense for us as an organization to do. When I looked at the numbers of our drivers, you know, over 40% of our drivers were veterans. And so something they could really be proud of and wanted to get behind was supporting Wreaths Across America. So being able to, work with them, participate from the carrier side, knowing some of my comrades within the industry and some who I talked to when we were setting up and getting ready to get involved, and then had the opportunity to meet with them throughout the years. Women in Trucking was a great opportunity when I was in the director of recruiting world to be able to come in and sit down, talk to other carriers. That's the time that we have. We get to spend and talk to each other. How are you doing? How's everything going? And be able to have like a real life conversation and, go, hey, does anybody have any pain points that are similar to mine? So getting to know people through, trips like this to Dallas for Women in Trucking has always been so helpful. And so I met so many core people. And then when Wreaths Across America approached me about coming on as their manager of transportation and industry relations, they were like, well, you already know all the people. Mm-hmm. We talked to you, and you've been volunteering for, at that point, 7 years with them. And so it was just kind of a natural progression for me.
So tell me about Wreaths Across America and what their mission is.
Absolutely. Wreaths Across America started in 1992. Maura Worcester, our founder, who was a wreath maker out of Maine, started making wreaths and had 5,000 extra wreaths in 92. And so he had thought, what better place to put them than Arlington National Cemetery? And our core belief is to remember, honor, and teach. Remember those who are no longer with us, honor those who served, and teach the next generation that freedom isn't always free. And so we spend a lot of time, right now I'm talking about trucking all the time, but we spend a lot of time focused on our veterans, working in different organizations, really getting that mission out there that we focus on, the remember, honor, and teach all year, every year. I'm amazed that a lot of people don't know that we have our own lesson plans, a K through 12 curriculum. There are over 6,000 lesson plans out there. So we do so much more than just, place wreaths on headstones the second or third weekend every December. One thing I think that's really cool is that date is decided by Congress. It has to be approved, and that speaks so highly to what we do and how much everyone is behind honoring our veterans. That to me is really special.
Yeah, and I think a common thread we're always seeing here is these different communities, right? We've seen trucking, we've seen women in trucking, this veteran supporting community. So tell me a little bit about how Wreaths Across America builds this community and supports this community from all of these different aspects, from volunteers to trucking to the internal teams as well.
Absolutely. Within Wreaths Across America, we have what I'd call your subject matter experts. Mine happens to be in trucking and transportation. So I tell people if there's anything trucking related, I'm there because I want to support our industry. Most importantly, I want to be able to cheer on our industry. And, in the transportation world, a lot of times you get news or recognition, and it's not always the recognition you want. You hear about an accident or something like that. This industry does so many amazing things for people. The same way we've got the teaching side I mentioned. Cindy Tatum, who is over our teach section, she is a Gold Star mom. She's also a retired teacher, so there's no one better to be out there teaching and putting together lesson plans than a retired teacher, but also a mom who lost her son on Christmas Eve. There has to be no greater nightmare than waking up and getting a knock on your door at 10 o'clock in the morning on Christmas. And how she's turned that into this passion of helping teach children and moving, the mission through them is huge. We work to get Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts out there to participate. We have high school football teams that come help unload a lot of trucks, or bands, or wrestling, or hockey, depending on where you are in the country. There are so many groups that come out. But we also work with, the Patriot Guard, right? And the Patriot Guard is just a group that helps, all of our our veterans that are out there, once they are to be interned, that they get the final honors that they deserve. We work with the Women's Memorial, the Association of the United States Army, the AUSA. We work with all different organizations, really making sure that what we're doing also aligns with what people want. And that, to me, is really special, that we are focused on making an impact in our communities day in, day out. It's just such a great feeling.
So what is it that Wreaths Across America brings, and what do you think is able to unite all of these different people? You mentioned such a wide range of organizations and groups of people. So kind of what is the story behind Wreaths Across America, and what is it that keeps them coming back to participate in this?
I mean, the story behind it is it's something that you have, this tangible wreath, a veteran's wreath that is composed of 10 bouquets, and each one of those bouquets represents a characteristic of a veteran, what we think makes up a veteran. And so when you are out there and we are placing the wreaths, we ask for people to say their name, right? Because it's often said when a person dies, they die twice. Once when their name is said last, as well as when they take their last breath. And so what no family wants is for their loved one to be forgotten. What Wreaths Across America does, providing this year, we're going to deliver over 3 million wreaths to over 4,000 locations, which is an enormous amount. But it brings peace, it brings healing to a lot of families. They may not be able to be close to where their loved one's interned, but they know that they can donate that wreath, and that wreath will be placed, and they get a picture of that. Or for them, they take their family out. It's a learning opportunity. There are so many people that come out from, schools or organizations that come and help, but when you meet that Gold Star family who laid a wreath, or you laid a wreath for a Gold Star family, and they walk up to you, and I say the story all the time. I have a Gold Star mother in Long Island, and she really hammered this home for me years ago when she said it, talking about her son Isaac. She said, "Don't ask me how he died. Ask me how he lived, and I'll tell you his story." These families want to be able to tell you about their loved one and want you to know about them and what made them so special. And that's what brings everyone back year after year. It's one set of hands that touches throughout, from the brush being tipped, to making of the wreaths, to adding the bow, to putting them in the box, to loading them on a truck, to that driver delivering to whichever locations they're going to. It is one set of hands, and as that set of hands it continues to pass on and pass down, that becomes really important and impactful. People see, we talk about supply chain a lot. That is a supply chain for us. But also, how many people did it affect along the way? And it's one day that everybody comes out, and what's beautiful about it is it doesn't matter, where you lie in a political spectrum. To go to Arlington, D.C., and see Arlington National Cemetery, the wreaths being placed there. It's the eighth wonder of the world. You see Supreme Court justices that come out, people from Congress, people from our U.S. Senate that come out and, are very low-key, dressed down, you would never know, that just want to come out and remember and honor those veterans. That is what makes us special.
Yeah, and I think you kind of touched on a really important point there, that the human experience is still so central to this. And we've talked about all of these different groups that participate in this. And then I kind of want to hone into your specific sector of this. I want to kind of dig into what transportation means to Wreaths Across America, and then how those relationships are grown, and then what the process looks like for these carriers and drivers.
Absolutely. Transportation in Wreaths Across America, first and foremost, is probably the most important thing. I say that because without the transportation industry, I would never be able to get 3 million wreaths out to be delivered. I would also not be able to help these Gold Star families remember and honor their loved one. The transportation industry is key and is such a key component. We do all types of transportation, whether it's on a truck and then it gets on a barge, right? We've got Crowley over here on the East Coast. Out on the West Coast, Matson really makes it happen, where we get a trucked in and gets cross-loaded and even goes on a boat. So we work with partners across the country, this transportation segment, and it's made possible by people at trucking companies that go, hey, we really want this to be in our community. We've had 2 carriers that I went out to visit this year. One of them is a new carrier, rail transportation. They decided, not only do we think that this is a great cause and we want to support by hauling loads, we're going to take on and sign up our local cemetery and fundraise to have wreaths placed there. That's really, for me, is telling us that we're getting the story and that human element out there. It is our goal as an organization for every veteran, whether domestic or abroad, to have a wreath and to be remembered each year.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit more about kind of what the drivers think of this. So I think you gave some great stats about the percentage of drivers who are veterans. Could you kind of dig into that too?
Yeah.
And how
Most of our drivers, I will say, are veterans. They're either veterans or they're Gold Star families. Or I've got some that are just the most patriotic people you'll ever meet. I would say over half of our drivers are veterans. I think that is something that's really important and brings healing to a lot of the drivers. Especially I still have some drivers who are Vietnam vets. I had one gentleman last year, it was his first year, and he said, you have no idea how much this has helped us. I mean, Wreaths Across America as an organization is the only organization that is allowed to officially welcome home Vietnam vets. We are allowed to by the government. And so, he came in, he was able to pick up his loads, but he was officially welcomed home. He got his certificate from the U.S. We were able to give him a pin, his actual welcome home hat. All of those things where, from a Vietnam vet, they weren't welcomed home. They were told to change into civilian clothes, not tell anyone where they had been. For us, those drivers that come in, and so many, like I said, are veterans. I would say over half are veterans. And we don't just say thank you for our service or thank you for your service. We say thank you for our freedom, because that, for them, their service is why we're free today. And that, for our drivers, is really, really impactful. One of our drivers last year was in a movie done by Penn Fed, and he won an Emmy, which nowhere in his world did JD ever think he was ever going to win an Emmy, which is really a cool thing, because he's a truck driver, he's a Vietnam veteran, and he's also a Gold Star father. And he talked very openly about how Wreaths Across America helped save him. His son died, and he said for about 10 years after Jeff died, I was very closed off. I didn't want to talk to people, and I had the opportunity to come up here and really changed my life for the good. So these drivers that come up, we spend so much time focused on making sure that they have an outstanding experience. A couple of the stats are when they come and check in, my average loading time is 27 minutes. Most carriers can't believe that. When I say that to them, I'm like, it's 27 minutes. As long as you don't have something, you don't have a specialized like refrigerated chute, or it's not a Conestoga, or even, some of the like mover trailers, they have to be hand loaded, right? But, the movers are amazing. They're out there moving, and frankly, they like to load themselves. They crack me up. That they're just like, oh, we come in, they're kind of shrouded in darkness when they come in, and they know what they're doing and they load it, and I'm thankful for them every year because they just come and really help. But having those drivers that come in, they check into our driver's lounge. I have everything there for them that they need. We have, 3 regular bathrooms and showers. This year we added a 4th bathroom, which I'm pretty proud of because of places like Women in Trucking. We added 1 bathroom and shower that's just devoted strictly to females. I'm seeing more female drivers that are coming and picking up. One of Schneider's Rider Pride drivers, Patrice Cook, she is one of the most outstanding women that you will ever meet. She's got a great energy about her, and is a great ambassador for Schneider, but she's also a great ambassador for Wreaths Across America. I've never seen someone who just has such passion for it, who wants to be out there and wants to talk to people, wants to really enjoy the convoy.
Yeah, you've talked about this kind of supply chain you all have built. Tell me, I think you said we're about 6 months out or 6 weeks out
About
from
6 weeks out now
Wreath
from Wreath Day.
So tell me, you're this small town in Maine. What does that look like building up to, during these loading phases? And how does this little city kind of transform during this process?
It was once said that this little city turns into like a Fortune 500 pop-up, which it truly does during Wreath season. I am less than probably 2 weeks out from being up there, and getting to enjoy, people that come in and help load, people that are coming in from out of town. We all just kind of live and work together. I have a team of retired drivers that come and volunteer. And they're the best because I have a whole first mile experience for every driver. And so they take every driver that comes in on a tour of the plant so they can see wreaths being made, on a tour of the tip land. They get to come through our headquarters where we have a museum. They'll get to go by the gift shop if they want to get anything, even though they get their own baggie with a really cool shirt that says Honor Fleet on it and says like Wreaths Across America down the side. But there are so many people that come in and fluctuate in. We have people that come from Iowa. We've got people that come from Florida, and we all kind of move up there and live in these small cabins, and we're all together, and it's just one big happy family. And everyone's there, and you're working hard, but everyone's smiling because the work that you're putting in is for something so much greater. That's outstanding. I mean, to have that feeling and everyone to go, at the end of this, oh my goodness, December 16th, you watch people laying wreaths and you were just, I had a small fragment in what made this day and event happen, and how that impacts so many people just to stand there and watch it is so beautiful.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about that. I know you're very boots on the ground. You're up there in Maine. You'll be there for the wreath laying ceremony. Where will you be at for that? And kind of tell me what that experience is like every year and what you see as someone who's a part of this throughout the year, and then get to be there on the day of and see it all come together like this.
Seeing it all come together is probably one of the most gratifying experiences. In addition to being over transportation for Wreaths Across America, I'm also a location coordinator for Long Island National Cemetery. And a lot of people don't know or understand that Long Island is the 4th highest veteran population in the country. So 2 of the largest national cemeteries, and one is the largest by land-wise, is in Long Island. So for Long Island National, I've got over 340,000 very deserving souls who are interned there. So I am in Long Island. We have a dinner just like you have in DC the night before. I am up at the crack of dawn making sure everything is great and really focused on getting people, how is my convoy getting in? Did we get everything unloaded? Did we get, every small detail that happens? We spend so much time. I spend time throughout the year planning, doing, as I call it, after last season, what went great, what didn't go good, what can I change to make it better, and then standing up there and going through the ceremony, inviting. One special thing we do is invite all the Gold Star families to come up and talk about their loved one. That's something that's really important to us, is we want people to know them. In Long Island, I say it's pretty personal up there. Levittown was one of the first towns that was built by the military after World War II. Their kids then turned around and went to Vietnam and Korea. And then 9/11 happened, and 9/11 was very personal for the people of New York, especially for Long Island. And so being able to watch these families and talk about their loved ones, and for somebody to be able to go and say, oh my goodness, I got to lay a wreath for their family. That's really something special. And being able to watch, this beauty of 55,000 wreaths that get laid. It's watching people smile, watching groups working together, whether it's a company that brought in their own teams, whether it's a family, whether it's a Girl Scout troop, so many people that are there just to work together, and that teaching opportunity, or watching a veteran, making sure that he gets that wreath on his buddy's headstone. That is a really emotional thing and day. I talk often about two different experiences that I had. One right after 9/11, or, it's years later, but, a mom bringing her son in a military uniform, just like what his dad would have worn. And that really hit home for me. And another one was watching a veteran that came and went to a mass grave, right? Because when an IED went off, you can't really discern. And as long as everyone's family says yes, then they're all buried together. And him coming in his chair, and we had just had a nor'easter up there, so it's a little slippery out there, and him making his way and saying, I should have been there. And to this day, I'm like, you're here for a purpose. You may not have it figured out, and I may not be able to give you the answer, but you have a purpose still here. And maybe that purpose is talking about those 10 people that are there.
Yeah, and I think that goes back to what you said earlier about, you die those 2 times, the first time whenever physically, and then the last time your last name is said. So I think that's so true, that everyone has a purpose, and to keep those stories and those people alive. You've been very humble so far. I want to talk about, you've done a great job of talking about the organization, but I think what you do is incredible work. So I want to dig into kind of how many carriers do you work with, and how do you get all of these carriers to work with you and be a part of this organization?
Partnering with us, I spend a lot of time to make it easy. I want to make it a great experience for the carrier, for the driver, because I want them to want to do it again every year. I talked about how I'd been a director of recruiting and retention prior to this, and I joked that if I had the same retention stats in recruiting that I did here, I probably would have worked myself out of a job. To say, retention-wise is over 90%. That's pretty huge, especially in a year like this year where economically there are some challenges, especially for drivers. A lot of the owner-operators that are still staying committed. That's so humbling to see them say, hey, Courtney, I know that people are having to close down, or, a lot of drivers have said, hey, I had to get rid of my van, I've only got this left. We'll make it work. I mean, somebody joked, I load a horse trailer. And it's a great opportunity. But, I mean, what we do, making it easy, is really important to me, because I know for carriers, I've worked for large ones, I've worked for small ones. And being able to go, let me make this as easy as possible for you, really makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and what does the carrier mix look like? Do you work with, a lot of these smaller companies, larger companies?
We work with everyone. I work with every mega carrier. Walmart, JB Hunt are huge supporters of ours. Schneider as well. The Knight Swift family of companies, they are huge supporters of what we do. I work with everyone from that down to an owner-operator who has a Conestoga. If you've got one truck or you've got 5 trucks, I will talk to you. You get the same amount of respect that anyone does, because they are helping move this mission, and I can't do it without them.
Mm-hmm.
So for us, having over 400 different carriers and owner-operators in the mix and close to 700 loads tells you a lot about who we have working with us and what they are willing to stand behind and do. So many large carriers do something really cool where they have a key exchange ceremony. So it goes from hub to hub. And that's pretty neat, from an LTL perspective or just a large carrier perspective when you know how the distribution chain is working. That is really cool to watch them take that and make that supply chain even more complicated but more special for them.
So what are you seeing on morale inside of these larger companies? You give that example of kind of this key exchange. What does something like this do for, say a mega carrier who gets to involve all of these drivers? Are the drivers kind of fighting to get to be a part of that, or what does that look like?
Very much. There are so many drivers at these large mega carriers that want to participate. I have some that call in and say, I really want to haul the load. I'm not a veteran. I'm like, hey, still talk to this person. I don't know that they're always going to say no to you. I have no idea. I have no influence on that, but let's talk to them. And I can let them know that you've reached out to us too. That's really important. Or, you see a Gold Star parent who really wants to be able to drive a load of wreaths for their son or daughter who maybe is interned somewhere. I tell everyone, one of the first calls I took when I came on full time was for an owner operator, and I said, sir, I can tell your son's location isn't a participating location. This is how it would happen. And I said, but I will tell you this. If you will deliver a load of wreaths, your son will have a wreath. And moved him so much that he even signed up as a location coordinator. Started last year. This year is already fundraised to have every single one of the veterans in that cemetery for their headstones to receive a wreath, which is huge. And I tell people, I'm like, I've got a guy who's coming up that's going to go to a cross dock in St. Louis, come back up to Maine, and then take a load of wreaths and do a multi-stop between Vermont and Connecticut. It's just absolutely fascinating that, they're willing to make that commitment. And for a driver who's an owner-op, that's a week or so that they are going without revenue on their truck. That says a lot that they're willing to do that.
Yeah, and especially in an economy like this that, you still have such great coverage and so many people who are willing to participate in that as well. So what does this mean for large carriers? You talk about how important veteran drivers are, how big of a part of the market they are, and it's something that, everyone is always looking for because these drivers are so consistent and reliable. Are carriers using this to kind of reach that audience as well?
Carriers have worked really hard, and this is one thing I'm going to give a shout out to a company called Fastport. Fastport has spent a lot of time working with the Department of Labor and helping carriers bridge a gap between drivers that are an 88 mic in the military coming out and getting into a truck. We, as an industry, struggled getting that experience approved and working with insurance companies to get that experience approved. Mega carriers are able to overcome those hurdles, and they love veterans. Veterans know how to handle pressure. They know they have all types of training. Heaven forbid there's a leak in the gas tank, right? A driver knows to get out and immediately put their mattress out to, start soaking up the gasoline. Things of that nature. Veterans are just trained to do, and they're trained to also help somebody out. I can't tell you how many stories that come out every year the TCA, Hero of the Month, where it's a veteran driver who saved somebody's life in an accident. These drivers are out there, and they are the best of the best here in the industry. And for a mega carrier, they want drivers who have that level of dedication, who know what it takes. They often are the same drivers that they can promote. So it gives them not just a job, but a career and a career path and trajectory, to not just say, hey, you have to be a truck driver every day for the rest of your life. So many of those mega carriers work and spend time really trying to find out, what do you want to do? What is your ultimate goal, right? And help them achieve that goal, because they're coachable, because they have a great work ethic, because they want to do good. I mean, you would never enlist in our military if you didn't.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit more about how people who are looking to get involved in this organization can play a part, whether that's carriers, owner-operators, or, just anyone else who might be interesting in listening in.
Absolutely. There's so many ways people can get involved. One, if you're interested in hauling a load, email trucking@wreathsacrossamerica.org. Two, sponsor a wreath. You can go to Wreaths Across America, www.wreathsacrossamerica.org, I should say, to sponsor that wreath. That one $17 donation remembers one very deserving soul. Get a group of people and coworkers and go out and lay wreaths. That is something that's really neat to do. I used to, when I was with a carrier, they had it as a national day of service, because Saturdays were easy. Most of the drivers were home. And that's the right thing. With Wreaths Across America, it's easy to partner with, having over 4,000 locations. So being able to come in and do that is huge. There are just so many ways. Volunteer to lay wreaths, donate, haul, or donate, your services on a load. We're going to make it easy. All you have to do is talk to us. And the easiest way to do that is email trucking@wreathsacrossamerica.org, and I can give you a call.
Awesome. So before we wrap up, did you have any other closing thoughts on?
Well, first off, thank you for having me here. Thank you for wanting to talk about Wreaths Across America and the transportation side. I'm very passionate about it. Hopefully that came across throughout this, the passion that I have for the organization and for the trucking industry. And most importantly, I want to thank every single one of our carriers, whether you're a driver, whether you are an owner-operator, whether you are in dispatch and you are helping get that driver to deliver the load. Thank you. Every single ounce of work that you do to this makes a difference. It makes a difference for your driver. It makes a difference for your company. But it most importantly makes a difference for a family out there.
Awesome. And then we have one question we always like to ask our guests to wrap things up. I want to ask you, what is your bold prediction for the future of transportation? And if you want to work in kind of the lens of something like Wreaths Across America, or some of your experience as a recruiter, director of recruiting, go ahead with that too.
Bold, let's see. There's so many ways that could go. Industry-wise, I think we're really in a great spot. People are going to continue to push, for optimization. Technology is going to lead optimization, is my prediction. And that's still very broad. I think that there's so much technology that is being, brought in. From a recruiting side, AI is about to be your next game changer. It's already starting to be out there, but it is how every single carrier is going to level up. Moving forward. I think that is going to be great. And two, I think that's going to eventually play a role here at Wreaths Across America. We're going to see one day I'm going to have an autonomous truck deliver a load of wreaths. I don't know when that's going to be, but it'll definitely happen. And, that'll be a great story and something really cool to be able to see.
Yeah, and it's only a matter of time before you probably have a electric or hydrogen or some other type of truck deliver one as well.
Absolutely. In California, I think that's already happening. Some of our smaller local facilities, it's already in that hydrogen, tank truck. And so you're looking at it and going, okay, this is happening. We were just at the California Truck Show and really saw the future of that, which I thought was pretty neat.
Yeah. Well, thank you for the time, Courtney. I really appreciate it. And you've been a great guest, and you're doing such great work, and we appreciate everything you're doing and look forward to continuing to see that grow.
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure being here, and thanks for your interest in Wreaths Across America.
All right. Well, thank you all. Appreciate your time.